Welcome, everyone. As as people start coming into the um, group here, there's a poll up on the screen that you guys can answer, please. If you can take a few minutes to just answer.
So currently we still have 6 students so far. So maybe let's give some time so I could do
Yes.
the very quick announcements. Okay, go ahead, guys. Answer the poll. We still have 2 students who have answered out of 7 participants. Okay. Okay, so we haven't received any additional participants in a minute. So maybe I'll just do the very quick reminder and then let's
Sure.
just wait for your heads up if you want to go
Yeah.
ahead and start. Okay, so yeah, guys, just wanted to remind you for today, we are at cohort 14, level 1, and facilitator is Jenny Allen. So just wanted to remind you that one because if you are going to submit your workbook and survey, please make sure that you put the right information on that one because if you put the incorrect one, it might not be considered. So, okay. And also, just to remind you guys, please turn on your cameras and always make sure that you are in the camera view. If you are experiencing any technical issues for this one, or maybe you are doing something else during the workshop, please inform YC staff Chris, just so she could take note of that one as well. And also for your Zoom display name, please put your full name. And also, if you are an alumni or a student leader, please put that one before your full name. So again, that's going to be alumni, then your full name, or SL and then your full name. So for now, we do have additional 2 participants. So out of 10 participants, we still have 7 who have answered. So we still have 3 students who haven't answered that one. So I'll
Okay.
just give you the floor, Jenny, and then you could just go ahead and tell me if you want to end the poll and start with the discussion. Okay?
Will, you just froze for a moment.
Ooh, okay. Is everything good now, or
Yes,
I'm
it
still
is.
frozen?
But in
Okay.
case in case this happens during our um during our actual meeting once we get things kicked off, will someone else be able to share their screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Chris has the PowerPoint prepared on her end.
perfect. All right. Well, just as we start finishing up here, I looks like we are early today, but it's 5:19, so once we have our last participant, I think fill out this form, or the poll rather, I think we can get things kicked off. Oh, we had someone else join. Welcome. And if you're just joining us, if you could just complete the poll that you see up on screen, and then once we close that out, we'll get things started. Um, Daniela's asking if we can resend the poll. Maybe we can, do you think we should end the poll now, even though we had a couple more visitors join us? Just so we don't keep everyone on hold.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we could
Okay.
go ahead and just ask for volunteers later. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and we'll just run through this really quick. So just to set things up for this week's topic, one of the first question is what's the hardest part of building self-control? And the majority says staying consistent. And yeah, that absolutely seems to be my biggest challenge is staying on top of that one particular thing that you set your sights on. What emotion is hardest for you to stay calm through? Wow, these are all really close. Anxiety, embarrassment, frustration, anger, pretty much across the board. Everyone is kind of saying the same thing. I think that emotion is so specific to each and every individual. So it's however that it rises up inside of each one of us. Which of these do you struggle with the most? Procrastination is a definite leader. I get that. Impulse decisions and emotional reactions. So we'll be getting into this a little bit tonight. So this will be good. And okay, all right, great. Well, why don't we, oops, I don't know what's going on. All right. Why don't we just jump right in then? All right, great. So this evening we'll be talking about this no sort of next um, part of your character, and that is self-control. Definitely something that, you know, you have to build up. It's not something that is just born with. It's definitely something that you've learned. So it's a learned response. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. And these are some highlights from last week's class that we covered and getting into leadership and how, leadership is not just a given title, a badge of honor. It's really about the impact and the influence that you have on people's lives, and that shows up in different ways. Sometimes a leader can be a person who just knows how to delegate to their team, and sometimes it's really the person that is empowering other people to take ownership, or it's sometimes it's actually like, giving out a list of, next steps that need to be accomplished. And of course, with that comes a bunch of different leadership styles and really the traits that define that leader. Next slide, please. Is it frozen? Will, are you able to go to the next slide, please?
I am at the learning objectives. Is that the
Oh,
slide that you want to go to?
next one, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, oh, I'm so sorry. Can you go back a slide? I got a little confused there.
No
All right,
worries.
so this is what we'll be covering this week. You guys, it's been a long week and it's only Thursday. All right, so for this week, we'll be covering um, uh, going back again to the topic being self-control and um, how self-control is really something that is shaped and by your identity. So, you know, aligning yourself with the values that build discipline and carry that through long term. Um, we'll be learning how to strengthen that willpower. And again, through small daily habits. I know this is like a reoccurring theme in each one of our classes. And how that can turn into an automatic response. So you have that kind of like already built in, and your response is just automatic. And then lastly, understanding the power of emotional self-regulation and how calm responses create confidence, trust, and inner strength. So this is really how you respond to very stressful situations. Sometimes it's anger, through anxiety, through fear, through procrastination, but maybe there's, a pivot, some little change that you can make to understanding that before it happens and building a plan in place so that you can respond to it differently and less from a place of emotion, but more from a plan sort of place. Now, next slide, please. Thank you. All right. Well, self-control begins with realizing that this is definitely a part of your identity. So it's like thinking about who you want to be, taking a step back and identifying who you really want to be, and then learning how to build around that. So, and then making the choice of like how you want to be that person and what traits and attributes and habits and work you're going to do to achieve that. So choosing your values over impulses and act in line with who you are. So you really want to think about what it is you highly thinking about the person that you want to be, and then what values you need to develop or take on in order to hedge some of those impulses that come to mind, like, maybe it's procrastination and not wanting to, or like self-gratification and wanting to put things off just to, you know, um, do what you want to do in that moment, as opposed to thinking through things a little bit more clearly, and putting in work, real work that you necessarily don't want to do at first. And identity shapes habits. I'm someone who follows through. So sometimes, there are people, some of us who follow through and some of us who don't follow through with things. Like you start things, but you may not exactly finish them. Um, and they're the values that provide the why that sustains discipline when motivation fades. So, um, your values, they provide that long-term why behind your decision. So when it's hard to stay motivated. And so when that kind of is challenged a little bit and gets a little bit weaker, it's the values that kind of strengthen that motivation and keep you going, keep you coming back to that place as to why you want to, instill this discipline in yourself. So just as a sidebar, though, there is a book here that they cite, Atomic Habits. I'm curious if anyone has read this book or is reading this book. And I'm just going to go on down the line, or maybe ask for a volunteer. Any hands? Anybody reading this book right now or has heard of this book? Oh, Daniel, you have?
Yeah, I did. Wait, it's
Oh,
such a good
awesome.
book though, because I learned like so much from it. It really transformed
Really?
my habits. Like it's an actual good book.
Really? What's like one thing that really stood out to you from that book?
I remember it saying like the progress that you make is like not gradual, but more like exponential. Like in the beginning, you won't see much progress, but after you keep doing like that one thing really consistently, then you start to see like your progress like towards the end or like when you do it a lot of times. So that's what like keeps a lot of people like demotivated from like trying to fulfill their goals because they don't see any progress at first. So you just have to wait and be patient with your goal and what you want to do.
Yeah, that's such an amazing point because I mean, I struggle with this personally myself every single day. And thank you for sharing because when you look at your goal, sometimes it looks like Mount Everest in front of you. You're like, how in the world can I ever achieve that? But it's not about like, you're not going to climb the mountain in one day. It's like these little teeny tiny things and what you put into it every single day. So like, I don't know, like personally myself this week, I don't have enough time in my day to figure to compress all of the different things that I need. So I kind of started out small. I said, okay, this week I'm going to wake up an hour earlier than I normally do. So now I'm part of the 5 a.m. club just for this week, just to see if I can knock a little more off my list. So one little thing that I'm looking to make just to be able to make one small change to make the greater change, more long-term change. Well, that being said, Will, can we play that video? I found a video on this Atomic Habits that I think is kind of highlights the book and it might pique some of your interest, so I think it's worth sharing.
Practical book ever written on simple behavioral change. Atomic Habits has three big takeaways. The first is that small lifestyle changes compound over a long period of time. So you don't want to try to be a completely different person tomorrow, you want to be 1% better 100 days in a row. The second big takeaway can be summarized with the line, we don't rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our systems. The idea here is that it's not about ambition or effort, it's about creating an environment that makes behavioral change inevitable. And finally, the third takeaway is that habits don't stick unless we alter our identities. That means it's not sufficient to simply change our behavior, but we also have to change how we see ourselves and how we relate to others. This book has sold a bajillion copies and is still at the top of the New York Times list, so clearly it's helping millions of people and doing something right.
All right, thank you. I would love to hear from some of you. Um, Like, is there anything that stood out for you in this video? I'm just gonna call on someone right now. What about Kayla? Is there anything that stood out for you in this particular video?
Something that stood out to me, I think, was the environment part, because I feel like in a way I kind of relate to it. I think there's no point in me being productive if I don't have like a clean workspace or an environment that's like quiet. So it honestly makes sense where like motivation, all that can be based on just your surroundings alone.
Yeah, for sure. It's like clearing the deck, like visually, and thank you so much again for sharing. Like clearing the deck visually is able to like you're able to like focus a little bit better and it makes such a difference. And I think recognizing that it's different for every single person, but I can definitely understand that. Um, all right. What about Delilah? Is there anything that stood out to you in this video?
The same thing that she said also stood out to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you a person that kind of needs a clear environment in order to be able to focus and get and achieve like your whatever.
Yeah, I get distracted in loud places.
Yeah, for sure. All right, great. Well, thanks so much for sharing again. If we can go to the next slide. All right, in this one, we talk about how self-control begins with who you want to be. So it kind of outlines some key pillars here in what you can lean on to strengthen that self-control. Little changes, little pivots that you can make in your life that really can help uphold that self-control. So keeping these small promises to yourself, they while they may seem small, they really do build trust in yourself and confidence. Um, whether it be, like I said, waking up a little bit earlier and achieving that and just seeing maybe not at first like a really big change, but knocking some little things off the list, noticing little small changes, it kind of builds momentum in yourself, and that kind of helps to strengthen that. Also visualizing your future and thinking about, who you want to be, where you see yourself, um, where you want to stand like a year from now. Visualizing all of that are great ways to stay focused and filter out a lot of those distractions and keeping on track. So when self-control becomes part of who you are, it definitely feels effortless. So in doing all of these things slowly but surely, it becomes a part of your identity, and it doesn't you don't even think about it anymore. Like, think about how many things in your life used to be a thing and now it's like second nature. Um, yeah, maybe it was waking up a little bit earlier to make your bed, or um, getting yourself all set for the next day by making your lunch and keeping that in the fridge the night before, making things a little bit easier. Like before, it might have been a little bit of something that gave you a little pause, and now it's like automatic. So all these things can really help strengthen um, that self-control and making it automatic for you. Next slide, please. All right, this week we're not going to go into breakout rooms, so we can um, complete these workbook questions here, and then we will, have a discussion within our larger room here. So if you all can answer this question: if you were already the kind of person who always follows through, what's one habit that would reflect that identity? And the same goes for, maybe you're not the person that follows through. Maybe you are the one that like leaves things pending, or you don't complete it completely. But would love to, explore this a little bit further. So if you can go into your workbooks, answer this question. Will's going to put time on the clock, and we can come back here and discuss. Okay, great. Let's see. Luis, question. What did you answer for this one? Are you somebody that follows through? Is there some habit that you can attribute to helping you be a person that follows through, or maybe you're not, and there's something that maybe you would wish that, or habit that you would develop that could help you follow through?
If I was a kind of person who always follows through, a habit that would reflect my identity would be prioritizing tasks prioritizing on my task without getting distracted or procrastinating.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Um, we're also easily, well, I am distracted. There's too many distractions coming through, and we talked about this in previous weeks, how like sometimes you tie yourself too much to the emotion as opposed to just getting it done. Um, yeah, I can definitely see that as being a challenge. How do you see yourself working around it though?
Um, I see myself by like by like avoiding things that distract me, like my phone, for example.
Yeah. And like putting it away or putting it on do not disturb or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. If only, right?
yeah.
All right. I'd love to hear from someone else. Let's see. How about Jimena Salinas? Okay, let's see. In the chat. Jimena's writing in the chat. Let's see. If I were already the kind of person who always follows through, one habit that would reflect that identity would be getting things done before the deadline. Yeah, yet again, it's about the procrastination and maybe it's like creating like a schedule or yeah, like a schedule for yourself and what's going to be able to get you to that deadline and breaking things up into smaller pieces for sure. I know that's something that we talked about in previous weeks. All right. Okay, well, I think we can skip ahead. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so in this next section, we'll be exploring, how you can build on self-control and how some techniques or steps that can kind of strengthen that. So definitely self-control is something that with practice, it gets stronger and stronger every time. So these little practices can be things like you know setting little goals for yourself, but just being very consistent about it, and so it becomes automated in a way. Um, and then building in everyday choices. So self-control is built in everyday choices, and that means like maybe delaying gratification. So putting off things like scrolling through your social media until your task is complete. Finishing something that you don't want to do. Maybe it's you know, somebody asked you to, or maybe you have an assignment that's really arduous and just time consuming, but just getting it done without thinking about the emotion behind it so much. So just establishing the repetition and practice over and over and over again, building out little time tables to find this, carving out time to be able to just put this into practice is definitely something that can help you strengthen that self-control. Next slide, please. So building on that, here are some steps that you can take to build that or train that self-control. Repeating small actions, again, instilling some sort of habits that can make it easier for yourself to stay on track. Maybe that's, waking up earlier, like I mentioned before. It's um, developing little tricks for yourself or making, I don't know, like organizing yourself in a certain way for the next day. All of these little habits, they build upon one another, and you start formulating a habit where it's only extending or improving, your goal and where you want to be. Choosing discomfort to grow stronger. So the act of discomfort is obviously unbearable, uncomfortable, difficult, all those things. But really, it's also, if you've noticed, the time and place where you grow the most. It's really like stretching yourself, um, stretching your abilities, stretching your brains, living in like what comes to mind is like working out. Like it's not until you really sit in the belly of the muscle that really, really hurts where you're able to see all of the change, the biggest growth. Um, and then this third point, use if then plans to stay on track. So what that means is planning ahead. So thinking about things in the future. So if this, whatever this action item is, happens, then this is how you're going to respond to it. So thinking about these strategies ahead of time so that you know exactly how you're going to respond to things, and trying to like think about, you know, um, what what potentially could occur in the future. Um, each follow through builds identity. So with that, each one of like your ability to follow through just like reinforces your identity and builds the character trait of self-control. And you know what? I forgot to play a video prior, but I think that this video that I want to play kind of sums this all up very, very nicely. Will, can we drop that video, please?
But there's a brain structure called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. But what's interesting about this brain area is there are now a lot of data in humans, not some mouse study, showing that when people do something they don't want to do, like add 3 hours of exercise per day or per week, or when people who are trying to diet and lose weight resist eating something. When people do anything that they, and this is the important part, that they don't want to do.
Right.
It's not about adding more work, it's about adding more work that you don't want to do.
Yes.
This brain area gets bigger.
Yep.
The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is smaller in obese people. It gets bigger when they diet. It's especially large or grows larger in people that see themselves as challenged and overcome some challenge. In many ways, scientists are starting to think of the anterior mid-cingulate cortex not just as one of the seats of willpower,
Right.
but perhaps actually the seat of the will to live.
So it's really interesting. I think that this kind of shows exactly what, the previous slide, what we just went through, and that's like living in discomfort and understanding how that really just plays a huge factor in the way that it trains your ability to um, practice more self-control and how that can impact your overall like mindset. Um, Curious though about this video, Roberto. Um, did anything specific stand out for you in this particular video?
Um, I wanted to nothing really too interesting stood out to me, but I will say I do kind of understand what they mean. Like putting in that hard work, eventually, it becomes like if you keep doing it over and over again, it becomes like second nature. So like I can
Mm-hmm.
understand what it means by like your brain getting bigger and all that stuff because you're putting in the effort to grow something that'll stay there eventually. It's like chiseling something into a rock. You chisel it, it'll stay there, for like a long, 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 long time. It may take a while, but it'll stay there.
Yeah, I love that analogy. That makes so much sense. And also, like what came to mind as you were saying this is like it obviously the brain is a muscle, right? So it's like pushing yourself and really strength training your brain. Literally, it's strength training your brain. It's like I don't know, it's like building muscle in your brain where it gets larger and larger and able to handle more and more. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Love that thought. Let's see. Alexis, is there something that stood out to you in that video? Any thoughts that came from that? Okay, we have a response. I would say that change doesn't happen in a day. Yeah, definitely not. It's something that you work up to. So, like, I don't know, I'm going to go back to fitness, but you start off small, you're not lifting, 10, in my case, 10-pound dumbbells in your first attempt. You're starting off much smaller. So, and you're working up to the larger parts. So, yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. All right, with that, let's go to the next slide. And I think that's a workbook question, no? All right, great. Once one small challenge you tend to avoid, what would it look like to use that moment to build your self-control, not to impress others, but to build yourself? So again, if you can go to your workbooks and answer this question, we'll set the clock and we'll come back here and discuss. Okay, great. I'm gonna call on someone else. Damien, is there a small, like one challenge that you have a tendency to avoid? And how do you use that moment to build your self-control?
Can't really think of a challenge off the top of my head, but something that I do tend to avoid is like assignments that aren't due like the next day or something. So like assignments that aren't, yeah.
Yeah,
And um in order to build self-control, I could like focus on actually getting them done before the day that they're actually due. So like not the day right before. So have them ready in advance.
perfect. Yes. Yeah, procrastination is definitely something that, yeah, keeps coming up here. It's a common theme, and we're all open to that. We're all victims of our own procrastination. I think that it's important to note, like, yeah, there's a lot of different little tactics that you can use to kind of, um, use that can combat the procrastination. Um, but yes, thank you for sharing. Yair, is there one small challenge that you highlighted in your workbook?
A challenge is a small challenge is like maybe embracing discomfort and a moment to build like my self-control. So like have a mindful awareness.
Ooh, very, very well put. Thank you. Yeah, I think right, it's that, and it's a great segue into our next section here because it's like recognizing that the moments of discomfort, part of that is understanding and recognizing what the discomfort is and acknowledging it and knowing that it's there and knowing how to recognize it and moving past that to be able to accomplish what it is that you need to accomplish. Thank you all for sharing. I always, like, you always have the best things to say. There's never a shortage of thoughts here. Thank you. Next slide, please. Whoops, I don't know what I did. Okay. All right. In this next section, emotional self. Oh, okay. So with self-control, I think really the hardest part is acknowledging that some of the issues that we come upon are really more of our emotional battles with ourselves. It's not even like the work involved, it's mostly the emotion. Um, and it's not so much about like whether or not you have the willpower. Um, so it's when like the stress gets to us, when anger gets to us, when anxiety gets to us, those seem to be the things that the deterrents, the things that hold us back and our ability to stay calm and measured. And then so you can actually think about what your appropriate response would be. Um, so acknowledging that is super key. Um, as we mentioned before, right before this, the importance of acknowledging what what's happening, but not reacting in a way where your emotions are flooded and keep you from being able to reach your objective. So one really powerful thing that you can do is to stop and pause. It feels very juvenile to say to count to 10. So I think what we've changed this to is this practice of square breathing because the counting to 10 feels like something that your parents would have said to you, when you were a toddler. Albeit, I have to say, just pausing and getting a hold of your emotions, your immediate emotions, because you know what happens. Like you're responding to something, it floods your brain, it blinds you, you can't see. But if you were just to step away for a moment, that's really all you need. And the adrenaline that's pouring through is you can kind of step away from that. It really is a powerful thing when you can actually see things clearly and not be blinded by all of this surge of emotion that you've got. And so, as I mentioned, one of these techniques that you can use aside from counting to 10 is the square breathing. And I swear this is I don't know. Can I get a show of hands if anybody here practices square breathing? Maybe pop up in a little hand up. Square breathing. Nobody knows. Nobody's ever done square breathing. Oh, Kayla. Okay, great. Can you share with us what square breathing is? Like maybe you instead of me describing it, maybe you can describe it.
I can try my best. So square breathing is just an exercise where you hold in your breath for a certain amount of seconds, and then you exhale for the same amount of time, inhale again and exhale. So it's a square because you're doing it back and forth, essentially.
That's exactly it. So yeah, if you picture a square, so you start at the top where you breathe in and you can hold it. I've seen the count change from, 4, 5, 8. So you start off with breathing in thank you, for a count of 4 or 5, whatever. And then you think about the next point and you hold your breath. You don't exhale, you hold it there for another count of 4 to 5. And then um, at the next point, that's when you exhale and you dump everything out, that 4 or 5 count. And then again, you then you hold it again for that count of 4 and you start that whole process again. So I know this sounds really silly, but like if you actually picture this too, this square thing, these things really, like visually picturing this in your mind, it does slow you down so much when, you have all of this surge of emotion and you feel like you're out of control, right? So like, for example, I am a terrible flyer. I hate flying. And I feel like I'm on the brink of an anxiety attack every single time I fly. And it's especially worse at takeoff. So I don't even have to think about what I need to do or how I need to breathe. I just go to this square breathing, and it slows everything down. And where something seems so impossible to be able to like think through things, like you don't have to talk yourself out of anything. This is like automatic. It really just level sets, like it resets you actually. So you're able to think super clearly again. So this is like a really important technique in how to, slow yourself down when you are feeling this tremendous amount of pressure. Next slide, please. Emotional self-control is quiet strength. So here we have some strategies that strengthen emotional self-control. So the first thing is to reframe challenges. This is so looking at it like from this perspective, acknowledging this is a challenge, it's not a threat. So reframing your perspective and whatever set forth before you, and acknowledging that it's not here as to threaten you or to, there's no reason to fear it in any way, but to acknowledge that it might be challenging. So just looking at it from that little shift and change um, will help strengthen that connection. Naming your emotions. So this is a really key point. Acknowledging that you are, like, for example, I am upset with you because, you hurt my feelings. I'm acknowledging that I have, like, I'm feeling a tremendous amount of anxiety because I'm afraid of failing. So when you can name exactly what, whatever is troubling you in that moment, it kind of helps break things down for you. And of course, that daily practice, it builds trust, it builds confidence, it builds leadership, um, because it really just shows that you're in charge of yourself. You know, you are not leaving it up to chance. You have a little more control. You can trust yourself to respond to things, to slow yourself down in an appropriate way, and that you can remain steady under pressure. Because the truth is that it's all the way in the way that you present yourself. So if somebody tells you something, like your teacher or some administrator or person of authority, really the biggest win is when you can kind of control the way that you're going to be reacting to them, keeping yourself um, responsive and not just responding to, immediately to anger or to any sort of emotional response. It's slowing yourself down to think about how you're going to respond to the situation so that in a productive way, right? It's like all about how you're going to be productive in this challenging situation. Next slide, please. All right, in our last workbook question, we are going to tap into what emotion tends to throw you off course. So this is different for everyone, right? Like for some people, it's anger. For some people, it can be anxiety. I mean, it's the wheel of emotions. Everybody has a different wheel of emotion. So what could you try to do to combat this? Something that might throw you off your game. Is it, maybe it's not this, maybe it's not pausing or breathing, maybe you have a different technique. But if you can take a moment to answer this question in your workbooks, and again, we'll set the time and come back. All right. Do we have any volunteers so I don't have to call on anyone? Hands up. Who wants to share? Come on. It's our last workbook. YC staff, do you want to help me pick someone?
Okay, no worries. Yeah, actually, one person that I would like to hear their answer from is going to be, yeah, we have Jezabella.
Yes, so I would definitely say that I'm trying to work on maybe my anger or my frustration. Especially, I feel like when I'm working in groups sometimes, and I definitely think that, I could get a little heated, for sure. But I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to work on thinking before I speak and working on my body language for sure.
That's awesome. That's it's definitely hard to do when you're in the middle of things and you see something that you see it a certain way and how you want it planned out or executed, especially in a group setting. And it's hard to be able to collect yourself enough. But definitely taking that pause and recognizing that that what you're feeling emotionally is a great way to stave off any, further frustration. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Roberto.
Okay, so I like to say that an emotion that tends to throw me off course would be anxiety, mostly because I'm trying to manage so many different things right now. You know, junior year, one of the most uh, stressful years. And I feel like there's been days where I just get to go home and I feel like there's nothing on my schedule, but that anxiety still stays there, and I still feel like there's something missing. Is because like I'm so used to having always trying to like plan out what I'm gonna do during the day, like oh I'm gonna do this homework this time, and then I have this meeting to go to this time, or I have to go take pictures or stuff like that.
So
But
you're spinning all the time.
like I always feel like there's something I have to do. If not, I'm behind. But one thing I say that definitely helps me out at times is just taking a deep breath. Just like calming myself down because I realize I should focus on one thing to try and just get that done and not worry about the rest until when it finally comes. But like, still working on it.
Oh my gosh, yes. And do you ever feel like you're jumping from thing to thing and you're like, maybe you're not accomplishing the one? It's just like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. I've got this and this and this. And you start this and then you start something else and you start some, I don't know if that is ever a problem for you.
No, I know exactly what you mean. That's happened to me quite a few times where I start like two things and then I've it's taking forever that I just end up stopping. They're both like started, but they're not completed.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Well, try the box breathing. It's amazing. Look it up and you can like picture it. It's so easy to just, like I said, like implement that and you don't even have to think about it so much. You literally are just like visualizing this whole thing and it helps, really does slow you down. Um, all right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. As always, like your comments, thoughts, everything that you share is so incredible. Let's just quickly go over what's to be expected for this next class. We will be taking a look at everything that we've gone over this semester, and thinking about how we actually can implement each one of these things into our lives, these skill sets into our lives. So, you've given me a lot to think about this year and as well. So I feel like this has been a two-way street for sure and appreciate, like I said, all all that you come with to class every day, every week. And with that, I am going to hand it off to our lovely team for announcements. Thank you, YC staff, for all your help.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Okay, so yeah, we'll be giving you guys about 90 seconds just to finish off your workbook and survey, and we'll just go ahead and do the very quick announcements after that one. Okay, so yeah, just a very quick announcement and reminder for everyone. Again, for the workbook and survey, please make sure that you are inputting the right information there. Again, we are at cohort 14, level 1. Facilitator is Jenny Allen. So just to make sure, since if you do input the wrong information, it might not be considered. So please double check. And also, just additional announcements. You can earn up to 2 points when you attend the Ignite Speaker Series that we will be having on the 17th of November. So that's between 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Our speaker is going to be Eric Huberman. The RSVP deadline is going to be on the 14th at 5 p.m. The RSVP link is in the chat that was sent by YC staff Chris. Again, for any announcements or any updates regarding the program or any of the workshop, please do visit the student guide website. The link is in the chat as well. And also, if you do have any questions or concerns, maybe you've encountered some technical issues during the Zoom meeting or any concerns regarding your points or anything like that, you can submit a student help form. The link is going to be sent by Chris as well. But just to remind you guys, we do respond to this one between Mondays to Fridays. So during the weekdays only. So if by any chance you do submit during the Saturdays or Sundays, you might have to wait for a couple of days, Mondays onwards, since we do not respond to it during the weekends. And also, yeah, do visit our Instagram. We do have that one linked in the chat below. Hopefully, Chris sent that one to the chat. And yeah, I think so far that's all the announcement that I need to do for this one. Again, I would just like to thank Jenny for such a wonderful workshop. It was very fruitful and I really love how everyone was very participative. So thank you guys so much for that one as well. And yeah, if you do have any additional concerns or questions, you can stay in the Zoom meeting. We could try and answer that one with Chris. But yeah, if you are all good, you can leave the Zoom meeting now. And please don't forget to leave your emojis for Jenny. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Have a great rest of your week, all. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.